When it comes to hurricane impacts, we often hear the advice, run from water, hide from wind. According to a recent study, a lot more people are going to be hiding. A report titled Worsening Winds says 13.4 million properties in the United States will be newly exposed to hurricane winds, many of them well away from the coastline. The reason? Hurricanes are getting stronger.
So what we're actually seeing is in 30 years, this kind of almost a belt that moves inland of homes that would be exposed to tropical storm speeds or higher that never would today.
Matthew Eby is the founder and CEO of First Street Foundation, the nonprofit that released the report. They used a new kind of climate modeling tool to produce these projected wind impacts.
Hurricanes are so sparse in the historic record that goes back to 1900 that you don't actually get enough observations to understand how likely landfall is to happen. There's just not enough of the higher end, the major hurricanes to understand the likelihood that you might be impacted by one of these.
So instead of looking at limited historical data, they've created synthetic hurricanes using current atmospheric conditions to model what could happen.
So what is your risk today? And then how would that change over the next 30 years?
The other major change to expect in the next few decades is in hurricane tracks.
And so because they're moving what's called poleward, they're changing the impacts in the areas of places like Florida, where the really, really high risk, high value real estate in Miami-Dade County is decreasing slightly and moving into places like Jacksonville, which is also a big city and very high value real estate.
And while the focus of the study was wind, it is important to remember the deadliest hurricane hazard, water.
What we're trying to get to and what we'll be focusing on next year is these compound events. So coupling our models and then saying, what is the likelihood of these things together and what does that impact to your structure?
Eby says the answer lies in infrastructure.
How are we building in these high-risk places? You really need to think long-term, and that means not just today's risk, but how is that going to change in the future?